If you ever wondered what all those controls on an AR-15 actually are and how the system works, this video is for you. Hey guys, welcome to the high ground. My name is Fabio and today we're going through the fundamentals of AR controls. Now, a brief little story. A friend of mine and his family are actually collecting guns. He wanted to get into shooting and I just advised him to take a few courses because it makes a lot of sense to actually know how to handle a gun before you start shooting on the flat range and running around. He told me that he is very open to taking a course, but if I would be able to explain him a few basics about an AR system before he goes actually into the course so that he doesn't have to start at level 0. I'm of course happy to do so, and I thought that question might be interesting for other new gun owners as well, and hence I'm doing this video. I know that currently is a pretty bad time for videos like this, instructional videos like this, especially in the US. But please understand that where I live in Switzerland, we have a lot of weapons and we have full on what a lot of people would call assault rifles, whatever that would be. Now, we have those rifles because we have mandatory service in Switzerland and everybody who actually served in the military gets to take his rifle home. And the rifle stays there until the mandatory service is finished. And the mandatory service generally lasts for around 10 years. So you have basic training and then you have to come back on an annual basis to jump into service again for a few weeks. And then you're off to your private life again. Now, so we have a lot of guns in Switzerland. And we hardly ever have any mass shootings. Yes, there have been active shootings in Switzerland, but it's a question of years in between and not days or weeks. To be a little bit, provocative, there are a lot more mass stabbings in Germany than there are mass shootings in Switzerland. And coming from this perspective, the whole topic is not a political one for us. We have a balanced law on weapons. We can get almost anything. There are certain requirements that have to be met, and I don't want to make this video about gun control. I want this to be an instructional for anybody who is interested in it, and if you're not interested in it, please, that's fine. Feel free to go ahead and watch a different video. Now, back with a weapon. Okay, this weapon is an AR style weapon. It's not the original AR, it's a little bit modified, it has a different gas system, but it has all the same controls. And I chose this particular weapon for this video because the controls are in a different color than the rest of the weapon. So I hope that you can see quite well what I'm doing here. As said again, this video is for total beginners. So we will really talk about a few fundamentals that might be obvious to some people, but to some people it might not. Before we actually get into it, of course, this weapon is safe, it's unloaded, there is no ammunition around. I have 2 magazines here for demonstration purposes. One magazine is filled or is empty, and the other magazine is actually filled with practice ammunition, so ammunition that's not there for shooting, basically small aluminum blocks. And so we're in a safe environment. Otherwise my neighbors would really have a problem, but that's not the case. So this thing is safe. Nobody else is around here. Okay, Now let's start with the gun. First of all, at the top, we have a muzzle device. There are several different muzzle devices out there, several hundreds of them. They all have different functionalities. The important thing for a beginner is you don't have to deal with it. If the thing that is on the weapon, just take it, it's fine. After the muzzle device, we have the barrel. You also don't have to deal with it at all. Now, this particular gun has a flashlight on it and a switch for the flashlight. You can see the cable is here still open. You might get a gun that doesn't have a light on it or that is wrapped with tape to tidy up the cable. I have it open because I'm currently testing a few different positions. If you have a gun with a light and a switch, you just have to press the switch and the light goes on. It's that simple. The next part we have is actually this one here. It's the hand rail or the mounting rail. There are different ways how you can mount stuff on your weapon. You have Picatinny style rails, you have M-lock, you have L-lock, etc. That's all deep in the weeds. The only thing you need to know is you can hold your gun on this thing and you can mount stuff to this thing. Maybe a word of caution, if you have a really thin aluminum rail, then it might suddenly get hot. So how it generally happens is that you don't feel anything for quite a long time and suddenly that stuff gets really hot. So it doesn't get gradually hotter, but it really gets suddenly pretty hot. So for really thin rails, really lightweight rails, maybe you want to wear gloves. Then the next thing we have up here are backup iron sights. You might have them on a gun as well. They're also back here. So you can use them in case your optic isn't working anymore. Like this. The next thing here is a grip. And I don't want to go too much into technical details how you hold a gun because that's a separate topic. But I only use the grip as a reference point so I can push against it and have a C-grip like this. I'm showing it the other way around. A C-grip like this on my actual gun to better control the muzzle flip. So this grip is not meant to be held like this. At least I don't do it that way. Okay, then maybe you saw it on the other side. Here on the rail we have a quick detach mounting point. That's just a point where I can put my sling on. We will get to slings a little bit later. For now we don't have one on it. Here in between you can see parts of the gas system. As said, this is not a standard AR gas system. It's different. It's a short stroke piston system. The original AR system is gas impingement, but those are technical details. You don't have to care about them, at least not in the beginning. Now, after we covered this, we are going a little bit more towards the center of the rifle. This flap here is the so-called dust cover. You can see it's spring-loaded. It opens up as soon as it gets triggered from the inside. And it's a good habit to keep your dust cover closed if you don't use the rifle. As said, as soon as the action that is directly behind it cycles, then it gets opened automatically. One way how the action can cycle is, of course, you shoot. The other way is that you are pulling the loading handle, the charging handle, sorry, like this. And you can see this is the action, but we will get to that and also to this handle. The next thing we have here, just below the dust cover, is the button for the mag release. This particular weapon has an ambidextrous mag release. That means it has one on the right side and one on the left side of the gun. That looks a little bit differently, but it has the same function. Often guns only have one on one side. I think the more common side is the right one. Then here we have the safety. This safety is also ambidextrous. Here, the more common way where you have the safety is the left side, this inner side. So I'll show you the safety actually on their side, on this side. Just here that you already saw it. And this one is the so-called forward assist. I will also show you a little bit later what that is meant for. Now, what you can see here is the action of the rifle. And let me briefly open it for you so that it stays open. Now you can put your finger in here, just don't trigger it, that hurts. And this is really the chamber of the rifle here in front, and the bolt that basically cycles whenever you fire a bullet or whenever you pull the charging handle. And this already leads us to the charging handle. This friend here. Now, this friend is basically meant to let the weapon cycle when you don't want it to shoot. If you shoot the weapon, the bullet goes out, gas is taken from the barrel. Through the gas system, it's led either directly into the weapon or onto a lever that pushes the action backwards, like we just saw. This happens and the gun is again ready to shoot. We will get into that a little bit later when we actually work with the practice, the dummy rounds. But for you, one important thing is that charging handle is locked. So if you pull it down like this, nothing happens, or here, nothing happens. You have this lever that unlocks the charging handle, and now you can pull it down. The charging handle can have different variants. It can look differently. You might be able to just pull on this side and it will unlock the charging handle. Just don't be surprised if you have to push a lever to unlock it and pull it down. That's totally normal within an AR system. Now we're almost through with this side. Let's look at the other side. Here you have a little bit more levers and buttons. The first thing that we already saw on the other side is the mag release here. As said, not all weapons have that. The other thing that all weapons have is bolt catch and bolt release. It's basically the same lever. If you push down here, it goes in a different direction than up here. And what this does is it locks the whole action to the back. And that is necessary if you don't have a mag or an empty mag in there and you still want to have the chamber open, or if the chamber is already locked open because there was an empty mag in the weapon and now you insert a fully functional mag and then you want to release the bolt. I'll show you that one. A little bit clumsy from this side, but now I push down here and the action that you can see here stays open. If I wouldn't push that button and I just pull on the charging handle, it immediately closes again. Now I push the bolt catch and it stays open. Okay, now I didn't push the bolt release because I don't like the bolt slamming into the void. That means I have a mag here with dummy rounds. You can see red rounds, those are dummy rounds. So let's put the mag in here and then now what happens now is the bolt is open and a mag is in there. That means nothing keeps it from closing when I push the bolt release. The other side, I'm pushing the bolt release and you see the bolt is closed, a bullet is in there, and the gun would theoretically be ready to fire. Now, being ready to fire, I'm switching sides again, that leads us to the topic of the safety. There are different types of safeties on the market. Some of them you can only put on safe if you actually cocked the gun. So if the firing pin is under tension via the spring that is in here. This one you can put it on safe and anytime. So that's something I like a bit, but yeah. Now, what do we have to do if we want to fire? Well, we have to put the safety on semi, and then we can just pull the trigger. As said, we didn't cover the trigger, but I think that's pretty obvious. This is the trigger, this is the trigger guard, and you just pull the trigger whenever you want to fire. So I'm doing that. As said, it's dummy rounds, nothing will happen. That's it. Okay, let me go the other way around. What would happen if I would have a proper bullet in there? It would have shot, and now the action would cycle. I'm simulating that by pulling on the charging handle. We said that. And if you saw, the casing was ejected, and the next bullet is in there ready for firing. If you fire with actual ammunition, this charging handle is not moving, so it will stay in place. It's a non-reciprocating charging handle. Also a few words on the safety. This is a 90-degree safety, so with this one it is safe, and I have to turn it 90 degrees to put it in the shoot mode. There are also safeties on the market that you only have to move for 45 degrees, etc. So that's really dependent on the model of weapon you have there. Okay, and then as said, we push the mag release, get the mag out, and there is still a bullet in there. Be mindful of that if you're a beginner. So cycle the action once, and now this thing is empty. Okay, I also said that I would show you that it stays backward. We have an empty magazine. Put that in here. And if I now cycle the charging handle or the action, it stays open automatically. And theoretically, I could now take the one out, get the loaded magazine back, and slam it home with the bolt release that we looked at earlier. And those are already the basic functions. One thing that this weapon has, you can adjust the buttstock. You can do this on most modern ARs. There is usually somewhere here a button. Here it is below here, and you can just slide it in and put it wherever you want to have it. Now there is one last thing that I briefly mentioned, but I didn't cover yet. It's the forward assist. And the sole purpose of this button is to close the action, the bolt, when it should remain open for whatever reason. Back in the days when those things weren't as reliable as they are now, it was always said that it can happen that the weapon doesn't cycle properly due to dirt or due to powder residue, etc. So you have a dirty weapon, then it doesn't cycle properly. I never had this experience with this or any other AR yet, but maybe I'm just too clean with my guns, I don't know. The other reason why this could happen is if I want to actually do a press check. So I open the bolt a bit and want to see if there is actually a bullet in there. And then it's possible, like now, that it doesn't properly close like this. Okay. Now it's closed by itself. So you can see it's almost already hard to simulate it, but basically the action stays a little bit open and you don't want to shoot when it's like that. Then you can use the forward assist, push it, and it will close. That's the reason behind the forward assist. I personally think it's the least useful thing you have because you can also slam the charging handle. It's of course not good and you shouldn't do it, but that's the forward assist. One thing I would really like to emphasize is that now I showed you how to put in a magazine here and I pulled the charging handle. I didn't show you the procedure how to load a gun. The point of this was only to show you how the parts of the gun work with each other, when the action stays backwards, when it closes automatically because there is no empty mag in there and I'm not pulling the bolt catch. So please be mindful of that. There has to be a procedure in place when you work with a gun, how you unload a gun, how you load a gun. It's not done with just pushing and pulling a few levers or buttons. You have to know what you do. But this should have given you a good overview on, well, what which switch on a gun is for, which button does what, and this was the purpose of this video. That's already it for today. I wanted to give you a brief introduction so that you can feel a little bit better when you visit your first introductory course or first introductory training. As said, this is by no means meant as an actual instruction how to fire with the firearm. I really only wanted to lay the foundation on what the different buttons and levers mean. If you found that helpful or want to see more videos in this style on the topic of weapons, then let me know in the comments. If this video was useful to you, give us a thumbs up, follow our channel, and I'll see you next time.